Assalamualaikum and good day. Welcome back to Industrial Psychology class. Now we will learn about the chapter 5 with the topic is evaluating employee performance. In this chapter, we are concerned with issues involved in the appraisal of employee job performance. What is performance appraisal? Performance appraisal is the periodic, formal evaluation of employee performance for the purpose of making career decisions. Murphy and Cleveland in 1995 believed that performance appraisals can help organizations in several ways. These factors are the primary reasons most organizations have formal performance appraisal system. First, there is the issue of the criterion or standard of comparison by which performance is judged and measured. Before we can appraise performance, we must have a clear idea of what good performance is. Once we know that, we can address the second issue of developing a procedure to assess it. Performance appraisal is a two-step process of first defining what is meant by good performance, so what is the criteria development, and then implementing a procedure to appraise employees by determining how well they meet the criteria. So with a true out-job analysis is the starting point for measuring and evaluating actual job performance. So the performance appraisals involve the assessment of worker performance on the basis of predetermined organizational standards. Some criteria for compliance are: first, performance appraisals should be based on job analysis to document specific critical incidents and behaviors related to job performance. Appraisers should focus on actual job behaviors rather than personality characteristics. Third one, supervisor should be also well trained. Notes and records and documentation also should be retained. Here we can see the purposes of performance appraisals for the worker, supervisor, and also the organization. The purposes for the workers, example for means of reinforcement, career advancement, information about work goal attainment, and also the source of feedback to improve the performance. And for the supervisor, example is as a basis for making personal decisions for promotion, firings, etc. Opportunity to provide constructive feedback to the workers, and opportunity to interact with subordinates. Meanwhile, for the organization, the example is to assess the productivity of individual and work units, and evaluation of the effectiveness of organizational intervention, means for recognizing and motivating workers, and etc. The job performance of individuals can be assessed in many ways. The most common procedures can be divided into two categories. The first one is objective performance criteria, and the second one is subjective performance criteria. Objective measures are count of various behavior, example number of days absent from work, or the results of job behavior, example for total monthly sales. Meanwhile, for subjective performance criteria, subjective measures are ratings by people who should be knowledgeable about the person's performance. Here we can see the objective methods, advantages, and also disadvantages. For the advantages, first can be consistent standards within the job. Second one, not biased by judgment, easily quantified, and the last one is face validity bottom line oriented. Meanwhile, for disadvantages, first is not always applicable. Second one, the performance not always under individual's control. Too simplistic, and performance unreliable or indynamic criterion. Subjective results are the most frequently used means of assessing the job performance of employees. Most organizations require that supervisor complete annual performance appraisals ranking forms on each of their subordinates. There are many types of ranking forms that different organizations use to assess the performance of their employees. The most popular type of subjective result is the graphic rating form, which is used to assess individuals on several dimensions of performance. The second one is the behavior-based critical incidents. Behavior-focused form concentrates on specific instances of behavior that the person has done or could be expected to do. This is different with the graphic rating form, which is that the graphic rating form discusses focus on dimensions that are tree-oriented, such as dependability, or general aspect of performance, such as attendance. The third one is the mixed standard scale. For mixed standard scale, it is provides the rater with a list of behaviors that vary in their effectiveness. For each statement, the rater is asked to indicate whether first, the rate is better than the statement. Second one, the statement fits the rate. Or the third one, the rate is worse than the statement. And the fourth one is the behavior and correct rating scale, or we usually known as bars. This is a rating scale in which the response choices are divided in behavior terms. And the last one is behavior observation scale. There are some problems that we'll get with the subjective methods. So the first one is the rating errors. Rating errors here in leniency, severity, and also halo. And the second one is the supervisor suppression of system. This is also the leniency as a strategy. The third one is the mixed purposes, like the feedback versus the administrator. And the last one is negative impact of criticism. This is the examples of objective job performance criteria. As we can see here, there are some of the job title and also how we can measure the performance criteria based on the objective measurement. Example like the typist, we can measure the performance criteria using the lines per week. And then toll collector, we can measure based on the dollar accuracy. And also the tree planter, we can measure the performance based on the backs of tree seedlings planted. And also the shearing machine operator, we can measure based on the minutes per operation. Dentist by the errors in reading radiograph. Inspector by the error detected in finished product. And like the tool or die maker based on their dies produced, and etc. There are 5 characteristics of criteria. The first one is theoretical criterion, which is the conceptual definition of performance. So what you want to measure. And the second one is the actual criterion, how performance is assessed. The third one is the relevance. Is it the actual assess, the theoretical? The fourth one is the contamination. Actual measures something other than the theoretical. And the last one is deficiency, which is the actual fails to capture the theoretical. Most of research on judgmental performance appraisals deals with evaluation made by a superior, like supervisor and also the manager. However, there is also information on the value of performance assessment made by colleagues or peers, and also by self-evaluation. So self-evaluation here usually we know as the self-appraisals or self-assessment. Self-assessment, as the term suggests, each employee appraise his or her own performance. So this is based on rating evaluation made by the workers themselves. And the second one is the peer appraisals. So for these peer appraisals, or we call it a peer assessment, this is members of a group appraise the performance of their fellow. So it will involve co-workers rating each other's performance. And the third one is 360-degree feedback. This 360-degree feedback is a process of evaluating employees from multiple rating sources, usually including the supervisor, peers, subordinate, and also by themselves. This is also called as the multi-source feedback. This is the definition of the performance appraisal, and also the objective to do the performance appraisal, which is for administrative decision, employee development, criteria for research, documentation for legal action, and also for the trade. The growth of technology over the past decade has greatly expanded what is practical in performance appraisal. There are 2 cases in which we can see the technology having an impact on performance appraisal, which is the monitoring of objective productivity and also the performance management system. So here for the employee performance management system, the example is based on the web-based automated to remind raters when to rate, and also can reduce the paperwork and provide the feedback. Meanwhile, for the 360-degree feedback system, the rating can be provided by different people, such as the peers, subordinates, supervisor, and also by themselves. This is also big clerical task in large organizations to track or process ratings. The web also makes 30/60 easy and feasible, and also consulting firms available to conduct 360. Comparative methods of appraisal, such as the pair comparison and false distribution techniques, directly compare one worker's performance and other workers. And individual methods of appraisal don't make direct comparison with other workers. And last one, individual method include checklists and forced choice scales. So the most common method of individual performance appraisals involves graphic rating scales and also behaviorally anchored rating scale. This is the example of graphic rating scales based on sum of criteria. Problems and pitfalls in performance appraisals is a major problem in rating job performance is caused by systematic biases and errors. Type of response tendency errors include first, leniency errors. Leniency errors occur when the rater rates everyone at the favorable end of the performance scale. Meanwhile, for the severity error, occur when the rater rates everyone at the unfavorable end of the performance scale. And for the central tendency error, occur when a rater rates everyone in the middle of the performance scale. The leniency pattern can be seen also across ratings of different peoples. For the halo effects, occur when appraisers make overall positive or negative performance appraisals because of one non-outstanding characteristic or action. In this slide, we can see the details of the differences between the leniency error, severity error, and also the central tendency error. There are also errors caused by giving greater weight to more recent performance, and we know this as the recency effects. Also, another bias is the actor-observer bias. This refers to the tendency for an appraiser to place greater emphasis on dispositional factors and lesser emphasis on situational factors that may have affected performance. So it can be concluded for a good performance appraisals consists of two parts, which is the first one is the performance assessment, the second one is the performance feedback. This is 9 guidelines for effective performance feedback based on Harris in 1993, based on his book, which is the Applied Organizational Communication, Perspective, Principles, and Pragmatics. Legal concerns in performance appraisals must be valid procedure resulting from job analysis that don't unfairly discriminate against any group of workers. Because many countries have laws that prohibit discrimination against minorities and women as well as other groups in the workplace. And there are 6 points of a legally defensible performance appraisal system. First, perform job analysis to define dimension of performance. Second, to develop rating form to assess dimensions from prior point. Third, to train raters in how to assess performance. Fourth, have higher management review ratings and allow employees to appeal their evaluation. 5, document performance and maintain detailed records. And the last one is to provide assistance and counseling to poor performing employees prior to action against them. Okay, so that is the end of this topic. See you on the next topic. Thank you.